Welcome to Devils in Red 59. My name is Steve, and what a glorious Saturday afternoon this is weather-wise. It's pretty much like this all over the country, I believe, so take advantage of it and get the old shirts off and get a bit of vitamin D onto your body. It's always good. But today we're talking about the short transfer window that we face this summer, and it's going to be a short transfer window simply because of the World Cup. Now, a lot of clubs at the moment have started to make moves and in advanced talks with various players that they want to bring into their clubs. And Manchester United are no different to any other club. There are various reports going around about who we're in talks with and so forth, but we'll go into that in a little bit. But I just want to talk about that short window. I mean, obviously, because of the World Cup, we don't want to be facing a situation that we've got to wait till after the World Cup to do various deals because I don't think we'd get them all done with the speed that Manchester United are known to run at for trying to get a deal done. So I think obviously the more deals we can get done before any players go off to international duties with their countries, the better it will be, even if it's just the side of it and the contract can actually be signed when they get back. But we certainly need to be in the running to get a lot of our business done prior to them going away. Now, obviously, INEOS, since they came into the club a couple of years ago, they've been very unpopular, mainly because of the cutbacks they've made in and around Manchester United. With the cutbacks, the charities that they've stopped paying to, ticket price rises, and all manner of things. Now, to a degree, I can understand that INEOS, obviously, when they came in, they took over the football situation completely at Manchester United, and obviously looking at the books, and they felt that those cutbacks needed to be made to try and balance the books and bring the money back onto the right side of the books for future spending and investment. So, I can appreciate that INEOS have probably had a difficult job to try and do that. And obviously, the wage structure side of things, they've put a wage structure in place now where they don't want to spend over a certain amount of money. So obviously, that's going to stop the ridiculous contracts that were being handed out prior to INEOS coming in and the ridiculous wages of 250, 300, and 350. Because obviously you look at the top clubs, such as Manchester City, and I mean they've got a quite a big wage structure. But you look at some of the other top clubs in the Premiership, and I mean they are there or thereabouts with what INEOS have sort of laid down as what they want ours to be. So obviously, by reducing those wages down to a sensible wage, will again obviously help the club and help the books. So obviously, I take my hat off to INEOS on that they are trying to make an impact on the finances and turn the club round in the right way. But obviously, from the day that INEOS came into the club, they put themselves in the firing line, and that there's no getting away from that. I mean, initially they wanted to actually buy 100% of the club, and then obviously they were in contention with Sheikh Shazim as the other interested suitor. So obviously, over a period of time, INEOS then reduced their percentage that they wanted to buy the club. So they went from the 100% outright purchase down to about 75% and 50%, and then ended up doing a deal with the Glazers for 28% on the basis that they could be in charge of all the footballing side of things at Manchester United. So, from day one, yes, they've put themselves in the firing line, and yes, everything that they do within the club now, they are going to be scrutinised, and that was obviously everything from the cutbacks they implemented and the charities they stopped paying to and the ticket price rises. So, that upset quite a few people in many respects. But I think now a lot of fans have had time and a number of months to think about it. They can probably see a little bit clearer and understand that some of those changes needed to be made. Um, so obviously, where INEOS is concerned, I think they've done good in that respect. But as we've said in a previous video, they will be scrutinised on what they do in the transfer window. Now, obviously, they still maintain that Elliot Anderson is their number one target. And for the last 9 months since they published that through various journalists that their number one interest was Elliot Anderson, they've always known that he's going to be in or around the £100 million. But it's felt that Manchester United don't want to visit those sort of transfer fees of 100 million and will probably end up backing away. And if he does go to Manchester City, it'll probably come out from United that he went to Manchester City because they could offer more money and the contract was better, or whatever. I don't think they'll admit to the fans that they didn't want to pay the 100 million, or whatever it is he goes for, 100, 110 or 95 plus add-ons, or whatever. So I don't think they want to go there. And obviously, Tonali at Newcastle is going to be another scenario. I mean, I heard earlier in the week at Tonali is going to be round about 85 million. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think 85 million would be too bad for the quality of Tonali and what he can bring to Manchester United. So whether that will get revisited again a bit later in the window, because Manchester United now on 3 occasions said they have concerns about his gambling side of things. But as I said before, that was about 2 years ago. He was supported by Newcastle throughout of it, and he seems to have got his act together since he came back playing. So, I mean, everybody makes mistakes in life, and it's whether they learn by them. And I think that Tonali has probably learnt by his gambling situation. And obviously, he's now done his talking on the football field. That's why, there's no interest in him. But it seems to have eased off a little bit where Manchester United are concerned about Ollie, whether that's because it's been put out that he's going to be round about the £85 million and they don't want to visit that for a midfielder. So that would write out Anderson and Tonali based on those sort of figures. And obviously Diomande, it's been reported earlier today that Liverpool are in advanced talks for him. And I believe his transfer fee at the moment is being discussed at around about the 80 to 85 million. So if Manchester United are backing off from that one as well, is it again down to price? I mean, I don't know what they expect to play for certain players, and we all know that in the likes of Hayden Evan, we paid £1 million for him from Arsenal. It was an absolutely fantastic deal for the quality of player that he is and little money that we've paid for him. So, I do think those sort of players exist out there, but when you're trying to build your midfield and you've just qualified for the Champions League, you want to know that you're bringing in players that are going to hit the ground running, because the further we can go in the Champions League next season, obviously the more revenue that will give us, and obviously if we qualify for it the following year, that will be more revenue. So it's really important that we get that midfield right this summer. We can't afford to waste money on the wrong players and not qualify for Europe next year, because it'll be Carrick that takes the brunt of it. Now, obviously, other reports in reference to midfielders are talking about Edison at Atalanta, and saying that it's very, very close. Everything's been agreed between Manchester United player and agent, and it's now looking like that it's at the stage where United, if they want to go for that deal, are going to have to submit a bid to them to see if they can get a deal done prior to the World Cup. But my thoughts on Edison personally he's 27 years of age, which obviously goes against what INEOS said initially, that they didn't want any players over 26. He hasn't got Premiership experience, and he's only played for Brazil twice in his career. So is Ederson the right move? Regardless of different outlets saying, they'd probably accept him as a number 3 choice. But, if he's going to cost us 40 odd million and he's going to be classed as a bench player that can come on in, various games, that's a lot of money with him only having 1 year left on his contract, to actually be a bench player. I think that money would be better spent going for somebody that's going to be able to come in that has got Premiership proven experience. They have probably got international experience, and they probably have played for their national teams as well. So obviously 2 players on my hit list really. One would be Fernandes from West Ham. He's a young player, but I've watched him a few times now over the last few weeks since the initial interest came out about him. So obviously I took the time to watch a bit more of West Ham and take a specific look at Fernandes. And he's a young lad. I think he's about 21. So he's a prospect, yes, but to see a young lad like that playing the way he does for West Ham in a team, that is on the verge of relegation, it makes you wonder if Fernandes can play like that in that type of team, that if he comes to somebody like Manchester United with better experienced players around him, whether he can go up to the next level and potentially, be a number 1 starter for the next sort of 10 years, because as I say, he's only about 21, so you could get possibly 10 to 12 years, 13 years out of the likes of Fernandes. If you look at Casemiro, Casemiro's 33 coming 34, so Fernandes, if he keeps himself fit and all the rest of it, there's no reason why he couldn't do the same as well before he moves on. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Fernandes from West Ham. And then obviously Alex Scott at Bournemouth. I've seen him 1 or 2 times, but I watched him in the game against Manchester City when they played them last week. And I think Alex Scott is a really good contender for us. He's not being spoke about in a strong way at the moment, albeit he is on our list. But when I watched him, I felt that he actually controlled that game in a lot of different ways, and he was the start of the lead up to the Bournemouth goal. Where he had received it in midfield, knocked it out wide to his left to the winger. His winger went down and crossed it in for the striker to put it in the back of the goal. So I think Alex Scott, in my opinion, would be a very, very good buy for Manchester United. I think they're talking round about sort of the 45 to 55 million pound mark, but again, I don't know exactly how old he is. I think he might be about 23, but again, he's another player that can come in, hit the ground running with Premiership experience, and obviously move on to the next level. If you look at Bournemouth's players, before Iriola came in, a lot of them players were sort of unknown and of no great interest to anybody, and the ones that weren't of interest to anybody had, left the club season on season. But to say that Iriola, bought through the players that he's bought through, and obviously Alex Scott being one of those, to mention many, it just goes to show that, we should be looking at them sort of players for that sort of money, and if you can get in between 45 and 55 million, for me, it should be done. And then obviously Fernandes, different outlets are saying it could be 70 odd million, and different outlets are saying they think it'll be round about 55. Well, if you can get Scott for 50 or 45, and you can get Fernandes for 50 or 55. That puts us in and around the 100 million mark, which would leave another 50 million for another midfield player. I mean, but there is also the opportunity that if Ugarte goes out, whatever we get for him could be lumped onto top of that 50 million that's left and push us back up to maybe the 80 million mark to bring in another key signing that's perhaps 24, 25, and they are out there. So that would then realistically give you a midfield of Mainu, Scott, Fernandes, and then if we've got that 80 million left over with Ugarte's contribution to the 50 million, then obviously there'd be hopefully a fourth big signing, which would be your main Casemiro replacement. So, I think a lot of fans would probably be happy with that midfield next season. I would. And you've got youth and potential and Premiership experience then across the board. And then obviously Belaber's still on the horizon. We still don't know, albeit it's been said many a times that Belaber, everything's in place with him from last season. Wages aren't going to be a problem. Contract's not going to be a problem. It's going to be whether Manchester United can do a deal with Brighton for the right money. Now, personally, I don't think that we should be going anywhere near 70 million for Belaber on the season that he's had this year. I mean, the season before, yes, I would have said 70 million. It would have been worth a punt on him. But again, if you're looking at Belaber as a second or third choice midfielder, then I certainly wouldn't want to pay any more than about £55 million for him, the way things stand at the moment with the season that he's had this year, because he could come in and get better, which would be fantastic, or he could come in and get worse or no better than he's been this season. So you're then faced with another Ugarte on the books, and we can't afford to do that. Every penny that we spend has got to be the right money on the right players that can come in and do a job week in, week out, and get us that Champions League football again next season. And then obviously the season after that is the INEOS 2028 that was previously spoke about, where they want to challenge for the Premiership title. Well, with the season we had last season, summer, where we bought in Cunyon and Bumo and Sesko and Le Mans, that was a good summer. If we can have a good summer this year, and then the following season we can have another good summer, then 2028 becomes a reality. Because you'll be looking over the last three seasons at sort of 12 players plus or 10 players plus have been bought in over them three seasons, and if they're all of the right category, then there's no real reason why we couldn't be, challenging for the Premiership title in 2028. So that's really about it on my video today. Just a big shout out to Bruno Fernandes. It's been announced today that he's won the Premiership Player of the season, which is good for Bruno, and the way he's going with all these awards that he's picking up, he'll need a trophy cabinet just for his own personal awards, I would think, But yeah, congratulations to Bruno. Much deserved. I mean, the Premiership hasn't been the best of seasons realistically for quality of football. I don't think this season compared to previous seasons, but you still have to be in it to win it, sort of thing. And obviously there were other contenders there that could have took that away from Bruno, such as Declan Rice at Arsenal. So yeah, big achievement that Bruno's won that, but it's not always about individual achievement, albeit it's nice that individuals do pick up awards. It's more about the team, what they're achieving as a team, and what we're achieving moving forward. And that's got to be the main objective from the summer transfers right through to this time next season when we're finishing off and hoping that we're in the Champions League again, and we've perhaps maybe picked up a trophy, whether it be FA Cup or Carabao Cup, because we've got to be competitive in those as well. But I'd just like to thank everyone for viewing my videos. Not the last video, the video before that. At the moment, that's got over 1.1 1,100 views, which is absolutely fantastic. I have been receiving comments through on the videos just recently, and I have actually answered those where possible. So thank you for everyone that's making the comments. Please smash a like on the videos, share the video, and obviously please subscribe, because I am trying to build a decent community here and try and bring you up-to-date news that's relevant to us as fans. So thank you very much. Please smash a like, subscribe, and share the video, and I'll speak to you again shortly. Thank you very much.